What's up, champions? It's Devon Petersen here, and you are watching Bullseye and Beyond, where you ask the question and I answer truthfully and honestly. And I say truthfully because I have all the receipts, all the emails, and all the conversations that have happened. Some of it is memory as well, but it's as truthful as it comes. There's no reason for me to lie at all. But let me say this, right? So the conversations have been going great. The questions have been going great on the socials. But we then do get question popping up in different areas. So I got a lot of DMs. And now we got one that came on episode 10. Episode 10, yeah. And it was Mr. Reach Phillips, B8F. And I think it is a pseudo account. But be that as may, it's a good question. And the question goes as follows. Hi, Devon. I've had a quick question regarding something I've heard discussed. I've heard this multiple times as well, okay? But not from the source or the sources, because there were like a group of them that continuously had the same feeling. There seems to be a perception that you use the SAPDO, SAPDO blueprint as a foundation and then adapted it into your own when you approached your PDC contacts. Could you please elaborate on this and share your perspective on how ADG was developed and how it differs from or builds upon the SAPDO blueprint? So thank you, Mr. Reach Phillips, or Reach Phillips. Appreciate the question. And let me take you back before we get to the nitty-gritty, but I'm not going to dive too deep because I feel as though this is a big show that could be had with a SAPDO, Pro DSA and ADG kind of conversation, because a lot of the people are the same people. The ones that were fighting Dart South Africa are now in Dart South Africa, in a different way, completely different. But I'm saying that this is a big topic, you know. But let me give you just skim it on the top, just the cream. So back in the day, SADPA was the first ever, I'm going to call them a organization, right? So they were South African Darts Players Association. And this was kind of almost part and parcel of what was happening on Australia and all of that. And the PDC started this entire kind of movement, right? And then the late Andrew Festus set it up in South Africa. I played in the inaugural event as well as a young boy. Played against Grant Sampson. And then we moved on from there. And then John McGowan brought the PDC to Empress Palace. And then we started hosting qualifiers, but a unique qualifying style. It's the late, great John McGowan. And it's a qualifier that I want to bring back in some sort of way or form. And then we created a opportunity within SAPDO, right? So John McGowan at the time, he was the guy that had the rights to host PDC qualifying events. And that was the piloting of the World Series that we watch now. So that was their first, the PDC's first in Empress Palace. 150 people in the audience. Phil Taylor came through the first time, and it was an exciting journey. And John McGowan was the pioneer for that. Then what happened was SAPDO then had or SADPA moved on to SAPDO because the late Andrew Festus passed on. Then SAPDO created their own. So Lenny Thomas was there, Nolan Arons, Wally Clayton, Anthony May, to name a few, Charlie Losper as well, part of the directorship. And what they created was something good. Part of the qualifiers, the PDC, I don't know how they got the qualifier swings and roundabouts, but they had the qualifier, the PDC qualifier, right? But there was a lot of infighting, a lot of pushing and shoving from Dart South Africa and creating the divide. But SAPDO had all the top players. And at the time, they created a league because the players that were playing in the SAPDO was going to be banned. So this isn't a today problem. This has been a problem for a long time in Dart South Africa. And there's always an organization that pops up and then kind of tries to share the ship. But SAPDO wasn't that. SAPDO was really great, right? And I think that with all the top players playing, we wanted to create I mean, we even had a Premier League roadshow in Ottery in, I think it was Blue Bottle or something like that, I can't remember, that we used to go to and invite people, creating this spectator atmosphere, but it wasn't going to kick off because there was a big issue with the divide, right? Then there was problems that was happening. SAPDO and John McGowan had issues, but there was a meeting and they wanted to know how much money is he getting. And I created a bit of a clown show. I'm not going to lie. I was part of that meeting at the time. And I also wanted to know kind of, well, how much money do you actually get? But putting the shoe on the other foot, I realize now that the man done it out of passion, out of love. And I'm glad that I got the chance to actually thank him for it personally, because he's the reason I was a pro, because he got that opportunity. But then what happened was SAPDO then had their own, the qualifiers. Then there was a breakaway. Then the PDC said they're not going to host the qualifier in South Africa because I was already on tour. And then there was a whole issue. And then I stuck up my hand and I said, listen, let's continue to host the qualifier because South Africa still needs to develop. And yeah, the rest, as they say, is history. And I don't want to go too deep in that because I feel as though that is the big podcast, right? And we can get all of these guys on there because we can have a back and forth and actually have a conversation. Because currently now what's happening is a lot of the guys that are directors at Prado, Pro DSA was at SAPDO. So they were against Dart South Africa and now they for Dart South Africa. So situations changed. And now it's funny that we at Loggerheads, but be that as may, now we're in a position where SAPDO is not hosting the event. So now they feel as though if it wasn't for me, they would be where I am today. And that is where this rumors are coming from. That SAPDO was the pioneer of everything that is professional in South Africa, which is probably far from the truth. And I'll say it to everybody's face. It's far from the truth. Because all SAPDO done was set up a structure that was done by Andrew Festus before and just carried on. And what they also done is they never hosted the first tournaments in the world. They hosted qualifiers that was happening globally, and they hosted leagues that was happening globally. It's just the context in which they were hosting it. Where we came in, I got the blessing from Graham Stark in 2016 at the AGM, and in 2017 we hosted the first events. And what this was is, it was a big opportunity for South Africa. We had over 190 players that turned up, competed at the Grand West, which was fantastic. Some of this, or all of the directors of the SAPDO came. I mean, we have pictures of it. Mr. Wally Clayton sitting right in front of the audience in that time, and we were great friends, believe it or not. But where we find ourselves today is that all of this rumors is purely just to kind of, I'm not going to call it sour grapes, but I'm going to call it it is an emotion that is evoked by a fact that something else happened, which is also a conversation that we're going to have for another day. But it's because of something else that happened. Somebody felt entitled. They weren't given what they believe they should have got. And yeah, it all capitulated. So now they have this, I'm the villain, they're the superhero, and this is where we're at right now. So they doing everything to tarnish the name, which is the ADG. But I can tell you, honestly, I mean, the things that we do or did the same. We host a qualifier, but we have 2 World Champ qualifiers and 2 World Cup qualifiers. The leagues, theirs was a relegation and promotion. Ours is based on your average. This is a DPFL structure that I saw in the US, and I thought it worked perfectly well. And just the competition level, it just meant that steel sharpen steel. Then on the other hand, I don't think that there's anything else. I mean, we had touring events with a last man standing. They had that as well, but not. It was similar, but the PDC also had it. So the rumor itself, Mr. Ridge, is one that is baseless really. And I feel as though it's just more a stab because nobody actually, you don't actually remember SAPDO. you know of them, but you don't actually know what they've done. They hosted leagues and the pro. But I can tell you now, SAPDO back then, Mr. Lenny Thomas was running it fantastically well. And I think that was the first time where we felt exactly what it's like to play singles leagues. And I don't think I returned to the tour the second time if it wasn't for SAPDO, because that was kind of my opportunity to come back and sharpen my skills and play against the top players. And I was ready to go back. And then I got my tour card the second time. And then I kicked on from there. But I think that with regards to everything else, the Q school, the tournaments, the leagues, that's all nonsense. I mean, the blueprint, that's not the reason why the PDC came or gave me the opportunity. And funny enough, it's 10 years now since I've had this opportunity to host international events on the continent. So PDC is a multi-million-pound business, and I'm sure that they see some value. It's not like I'm just there and going, hey, I'm doing the greatest work, I'm doing all of this. It's not that. The proof is in the pudding. The growth that we see is phenomenal, and they see it as well. And what I've invested along with my team, the hours, the sacrifice, the platforms that we put in, the exponential growth, the expansion in the different countries, the integration of the sport itself, not just on an adult perspective, but on a development perspective, with no more platforms coming out this year. I don't think that if you put SAPDO and you put ADG next to each other, it is not even chalk and cheese. It is worlds apart, worlds. And I feel as though there might be a feeling that they think that I'm getting more money than I'm claiming to get from the PDC, because they can't believe that I'm investing all this money. But I can tell you that I am, and I have been, and I'm blessed to have partners and partnerships that are moving us forward. So I wish for everybody that is hearing that comment about the blueprint and all of those things, I can tell you now it's false. I can tell you that SAPDO was great. They continued the legacy of the late Andrew Festus, and we just made it better. And I think that is probably the worst part, because the one thing that they should do is that, looking at what is currently happening, we have more tour events, we have more qualifiers, we have more international partnerships, we have more opportunities for youth, we have a platform that's designed globally. African players are getting the exposure, African players are being celebrated globally. I'm not saying that we own the sport in Africa, but I am saying that we are developing and leading the sport of darts, not just on the continent, but globally as well. So I can tell you this, right, is that when you hear these rumors and perspectives, you can entertain them for as much as you want, but I feel as though the truth is SAPDO or SADPA started it. John McGowan brought the PDC. SAPDO enhanced it, and we just took it to the next level. So yeah, there's a legacy of the sport, and I think that on our side, I'll always be grateful to SAPDO for what they've done. And on my side, I think that the directors that were on there at the time, they made some great decisions and some challenging ones as well. So I feel as though if we look at everything, I would never say SAPDO was the reason why they're forgotten is because it happened so long ago. And I believe that I never stole anything. I never took their blueprint and ran with it and went, because to be honest, it's just normal darts. There was nothing different. I think that where we find ourselves today is leaps and bounds ahead of anything that is currently happening, and excited to continue to deliver this. I hope that gave you some insight. But yeah, just kind of in closing, and this is a longer kind of video, but what I think should happen is all these people that are talking and saying these things, right? We should all sit together and have a conversation and record it. I'd love that, because I feel as though that is something that is it's overdue. It's overdue. This is Bullseye and Beyond, where the truth matters.